Hello, my name is Gary Maloney here for Sacktown Slam. And I am here to talk to you about NXT and some other interesting pieces of news that have come up in the last 24 hours. So, to go over NXT real quickly first, your first match, or the first thing that happened was No Way Jose shows up. This big Congo line starts from what were more than likely plants from the crowd, and then suddenly out of nowhere Lars Sullivan just shows up, and this dude's big. We're like talking Mojo Riley big, so I don't doubt that he could take out No Way Jose with one arm. The referee waved off the match because it looked like No Way Jose was getting his ass kicked. I don't know if this was for realsies or if this was what was supposed to happen, but that is the way that it went down. He just beat the crap out of No Way Jose, and that was pretty much the end of it. And then they went to commercial and came back with more promos. By the way, much like Raw, this was a very promo-heavy show. After this, they showed a lot of promos with Johnny Gargano talking about how he wasn't going to make excuses because excuses were for people that, want to just, cover up their failures, and how he doesn't do that. I mean, I like this from Gargano. Gargano, he's never made excuses in his whole career, so why would he flip now with his character? It would be kind of out of character for him. I agree with that. Another great thing that they showed during this show in terms of promos was Bobby Roode, his post takeover Brooklyn 3 response. He was angry. He was like, "Get that camera out of here! Get that camera out of here!" I was like, "Nah!" And then all of a sudden, Roderick Strong walks in. He's all, "See you later, champ." Just blows him a kiss. Like that just, blew my mind. It's like Roderick Strong getting in that last little rubbing some salt in the wound. I will let you know this is not the last time we're going to see Bobby Roode on NXT. Not to spoil anything, but there will be a match between Roderick Strong and Bobby Roode in the coming weeks. I don't know exactly when, but it has been made official because they've taped the next couple weeks of Full Sail episodes and of NXT, and those two are gonna butt heads one more time. Anyway, the next match after Lars Sullivan just buried No Way Jose was Peyton Royce versus Sarah Logan. Now, Sarah Logan is a competitor in the Mae Young Classic. Obviously, there's a lot of women that show up here that are no-namers, but in case you were wondering, that's where she's from. And apparently Sarah Logan was trained by Taka Michinoku. I mean, what a name to be trained by. I mean, if you want to be an ass kicker, that's certainly one of the ones I'd take out of the cookie jar. So, I would definitely, most definitely, the match itself, it impressed me more so on the Sarah Logan side, simply because, I don't believe she's competed before in NXT. I mean, it's possible because a few of the names in the Mae Young Classic have competed in NXT before, but it would seem to me that this was definitely a test match for her, more so than it was for Peyton Royce. To be fair, she definitely, within, the allotted time that they got for her match definitely seemed to give Peyton Royce a little bit of a run for her money at a certain point. But for the most part, Peyton Royce really kind of ran the roost here. Not surprising that Peyton Royce came out on top at all. My only beef with Billie Kay and Peyton Royce is they just look way too green in that ring. And for people who think that, oh my gosh, they're ready for the main roster, no, they are not ready for the main roster. They are not even close to being even ready for the main roster. In fact, I'm shocked they're not in the Mae Young Classic with how they wrestle. But to be fair to those women, they have come a very long way since they first started, because they were almost unfucking watchable when they first started, and now they are at least watchable, but they are undercard still. I honestly do not see them winning the NXT women's title probably ever. And they will probably have to wait for any kind of a title run or well, they've had a title match, but they'll probably have to wait for any kind of title run until they get to the main roster. So, with that being said, we head to what was pretty much the bulk of the show, other than the promos, and that is that is Pete Dunne and Wolfgang against Trent Seven and Tyler Bate. Needless to say, this was a great match. I mean, anytime you get those UK guys in there, it's going to be a great match. It was a lot of brawling, which, again, you can't expect any less from these guys from the UK, because every time they get in there, they just want to kick each other's ass. So, one of the fun parts about this is that Trent Seven and Tyler Bate are a part of a tag team. They're part of Mustache Mountain, apparently. And I think a lot of people that at least keep track of this already know that. So it is it was a very athletic match. The way and there was a lot of back and forth between the teams, but the way it ended was that Wolfgang got off the howling on Tyler Bate, and that's how it ended up going down. However, before the match, you had Wolfgang saying, when am I going to get my shot at that UK title? And he's like, how about if we win tonight, you give me a shot? And then Pete Dunne was like, let's win first and then we'll talk. Now, there is some internet chatter right now on Twitter about there being a certain match happening at the NXT tapings. Not going to say how that went down, but apparently Wolfgang will be getting his shot at Pete Dunne in the next few weeks. So I don't know when and what matches they're going to show for what taping. So I won't drop any more spoilers than that, and one other thing. And this is really the thing that's just blown up on Twitter. Other than, of course, Adam Cole and Red Dragon, i.e. Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, having some nice little go-betweens with the tag teams on NXT. But Asuka is leaving NXT. I do not know when they are planning to show this. So it could be next week. It could be a month from now. I honestly do not know. One of the things, there's some things I don't like and some things I do like about this. What I don't like about this is that every person on the NXT fucking roster has had to take their first loss in NXT. Hell, Shinsuke Nakamura took his first loss in NXT. Every single one of the 4 horsewomen, whether it be Bayley, Sasha Banks, Charlotte, or Becky Lynch, took their first losses in NXT. Nia Jax took her first loss in NXT. Pete Dunne took his first loss in NXT. Pete Dunne took his first loss in the UK tournament. Tyler Bate took his first loss in NXT. So I really have to question, per se, where they're going with Asuka, given that she's going to be unbeaten heading into the main roster. I mean, taking your first loss in NXT is almost a rite of passage. That way, it doesn't hurt so much when you go from a crowd of maybe 5,000 to a crowd of 10 to 20,000. So, I mean, imagine if they'd have filled up the Barclays Center with 20, 30,000 people and had Asuka take her first loss there. At TakeOver, that's where it should have happened. And considering that Ember Moon did a damn good job in that match, why, if their initial plan was to have Asuka move up from NXT to the main roster, you give that title to Ember Moon. And I cannot be more expressive about this. I think that is a slap in the face to Ember Moon, and I think that is a slap in the face to every single main carder who had to take their first loss in NXT. Man or woman, it does not matter. NXT is where you build yourself for taking wins and losses. Now, obviously, this was, I believe, first reported by Ryan Satin from, I believe, Pro Wrestling Sheet. But the fact of the matter is Ryan Satin was the first one to report this online, and then my fucking Twitter blew up like, oh my god, Asuka's going to the main roster. Well, this is my other beef with this. And as far as her, being in NXT, she was injured coming out of that match. Whether it was kayfabe or not, I guess we'll find out. But she was going to be out 4 to 6 weeks because she had broken her collarbone, which I've read that she had to have an MRI and an X-ray, and that confirmed this. So the fact of the matter is that the facts are there to support that she's injured. So why she's getting a free pass without a loss, to me that's insulting to the other competitors in NXT, including guys that are on the main roster now, like Shinsuke Nakamura and Samoa Joe. No. You are not special and better than everyone else. Yes, Asuka is a legit badass. Yes, Asuka is a cut above a lot of the women that have stepped into that ring. Do I think she's better than all the 4 horsewomen combined? Yes. I mean, Bayley was a legit badass and whiny little girl. Charlotte was a legit badass in NXT. Charlotte now, basically, sort of, you can tell the favoritism WWE shows towards her. Sasha, 50-50 booking. Too much of that with Sasha. And then Becky Lynch, kind of getting buried right now. So I really feel like Asuka needed to take that first loss. And if anywhere, it should have been at TakeOver Brooklyn 3. I don't want to be a downer, but, part of NXT is passing the torch to the next one with the hot hand. And the next one with the hot hand next to Asuka was Ember Moon. And to not do that for Ember Moon, it leaves a lot of unanswered questions. What are you going to do to make your next NXT women's title match at, wherever they're going to have the next NXT the night before Survivor Series? Or if they even have one before that. I really feel that this is just horrible booking decision by WWE. Now, I realize everybody, including myself, is going to be thank you, Asuka, for the work that she did in NXT. I have no gripes with what she did in NXT other than leaving it and just, forfeiting the title. Obviously, this also makes no sense because if you go back and you look at NXT title reigns, Kevin Owens had the NXT title going into last year. And I feel like, why could you not just do that for Asuka and let her drop that title to Ember Moon in November and then have her stay on the main roster rather than just simply say, okay, you're going to drop the title? I mean, the only sense of this that I can truly make is that they're going to give the person that wins that Mae Young Classic a shot at the NXT title. I mean, if they do not do that now, then I see no reason why Asuka should have vacated it at all. I mean, this, just the more I think about it, the more I feel like this is more bullshit, illogical booking. We want Asuka now because we want her for our women's division. The other issue I see here, now Ryan Satin is claiming that Asuka is going to Raw. Honestly, I hope to God that that's not true, but I can see why they might do that. If she went to Raw, then she would have Mickie James, she'd have Bayley, she'd have Nia Jax. All three are women who have been in the ring with Asuka before. So there's three very viable, feuds that she could have. But this is Asuka we are talking about. Asuka is not going to take any bull honky feuds, so more than likely they're going to stick a rocket in her ass and shoot her straight to the top. And it will be her and whomever is the women's champion at the time. Now, here's the funny thing. This upcoming Monday, there's going to be a rematch from this past Sunday's SummerSlam for the women's title between Sasha and Alexa Bliss. Now, before this happened, I would have said they'll probably take the title off Sasha and put it back on Alexa Bliss. Now that I have seen this and heard this and know that it's true, because there are images that have been leaked all over the internet of people saying thank you, Asuka, and Triple H handing her a bouquet of roses, and the NXT locker room just clapping for her as she walks up the entrance ramp. Yeah, she's leaving NXT. This is not a swerve. But what I am seeing now is that more than likely Alexa Bliss's run is over. Because if I'm Asuka and I have a choice between Alexa Bliss or Sasha Banks, I'm going Sasha Banks all the way. Sasha Banks has the pedigree. She has the fame. She's related to Snoop Dogg. I mean, that's a huge match. Her and Alexa Bliss, not so much. I mean, yes, Alexa Bliss was NXT just as Sasha was, so she really doesn't have that over Sasha. But Alexa Bliss was already beaten by Asuka at least twice, if I'm not mistaken. And although at that point, Alexa Bliss was pretty fucking green. Unfortunately, though, Sasha or Alexa, I don't know what's going to happen. Because do I trust Triple H and William Regal to book Sasha? Hell yeah. Do I trust Kevin Dunn and Vince to book Sasha? Fuck no. I do not trust them to book Asuka. Excuse me, I said Sasha. But would I trust Triple H and William Regal to book Asuka? Definitely. As I said, as far as Kevin Dunn and I'm all flustered about this, but do I trust Raw to book Asuka? No. Hell no. NXT? Yes. It's because of the people that are in charge. You can tell just by looking at NXT that NXT is where people care about how you are booked. Raw and SmackDown are just nonsensical booking for the most part. I mean, this past Tuesday was great, but do I expect that every Tuesday? No. And that's mainly because, well, gee, Road Dogg, you can't book us it seems like ever since late March, that has been a shit show. And it is nonsensical. And then you have Raw, which has slowly been moving its way back up the totem pole. It's kind of been a good show with a mix of good and bad, but there's enough good in it to at least want to watch it. I'm not falling asleep during the second hour anymore because it's so bad. But, Raw's got to keep it up with the good storylines, and Raw's got to keep up continuity with those storylines in order to keep my interest. And, no more of this, let's just book this guy versus this guy, even though we don't even know what they're fighting about. Thank you, Finn Balor, Bray Wyatt. And then you had Seth Rollins and Bray Wyatt. Again, we didn't even know what the hell they were fighting about. But, to the credit, though, of Raw, and to the credit of their creative staff, at least the last 4 weeks or so have been good. NXT, my curiosity lies in where does this put the Mae Young Classic in terms of women coming in, and what does the future hold for the NXT title? I mean, if the WWE's thoughts are to officially move her to the main roster, and since apparently she's forfeiting the belt, who's next in line for the belt? Where's your number one contendership? I'm very, very curious to see where this goes. Because if Ember Moon is not one of those two women, you done fucked up already. So I really feel like this is going to get very interesting here in the next few weeks with NXT. Now, as far as other news goes, earlier this week it was reported that Rusev was going to leave the WWE. or that he wanted his release because he was still under contract, but supposedly he was unhappy. It is official, and this was reported by WrestleTalk, that is untrue, and Rusev himself came out and stated that. So, obviously, this is more clickbait type of stuff that has been on the internet, and people are just trying to swerve us because, Rusev lost at Battleground and Rusev lost at SummerSlam in 9-10 seconds. So, Rusev's angry and wants his release. I really believe that if I'm Rusev at this point, I don't think I'd want a release, but I'd be demanding maybe a shot at that U.S. title. Obviously, Rusev is... Rusev versus Jinder could get interesting, considering they were a tag team, they broke up, they hated each other, but they've yet to really build on that storyline. I think that storyline, in my opinion, should have been built on more so than anything else. I think that it could have been done a lot better. So it makes for a lot of problems, in my opinion, if you're not going to book Rusev in that way. What does Rusev really have to do? I mean, I don't think he's going to want a job to more people. I mean, obviously, it's not going to be Cena anymore because now Cena's on Monday Night Raw. I honestly, truly believe that Cena probably demanded that match against Shinsuke, wanted to put Shinsuke over, and is now probably pretty pissed that Shinsuke lost to Jinder Mahal. Another issue that I have with this Rusev thing is that Rusev, obviously there's too much competition on Raw, but if you can't make room for him somewhere on SmackDown, then it's time to maybe restructure your divisions. I think AJ and Kevin Owens in the U.S. division, that just doesn't leave any room for anyone else in the division. Give me a break. It's time to maybe make room in that division for other people, and I think Rusev versus AJ should be where they go from here. I think that Kevin Owens needs some time to make his way up to the top because he's never held the WWE title. Granted, that would make him a Grand Slam champion outside of, I believe, the tag team titles. So we'll see where that goes in the coming weeks. And we'll see what happens with Rusev in the coming weeks especially, and see if this is true or if this is not true, and how they treat Rusev on SmackDown. The other big news is that after the rematch for the Intercontinental, they wish it was the Intercontinental, for the, Cruiserweight title on 205 Live this past Tuesday. Unfortunately, Neville won. Boo! But they had, unfortunately, Neville wins. Neville beats Tozawa, which, again, boo. I hate this booking decision for a great deal, many a reason. I think that Tozawa has a great amount of talent. He has a lot of charisma. He has a ton. He was starting to click with the fans, and now you're basically telling the fans you don't give a fuck. And I think that is way an insult to the fans. Neville is great. Does Neville need to hold the title for forever? No. Neville has had that title now almost 9 months, minus about a week that Tozawa had it. And it really, I mean, like, really, do you need to have someone hold that title for a year? It's unnecessary. And I just feel like this is probably the biggest mistake that WWE is making, because you're pigeonholing people into a division that you don't need to pigeonhole them in. Let some of them go out and fight for the IC title. Let some of them go out, make a tag team, fight for the tag titles. Hell, if they're good enough, maybe give them a shot. And I don't know, the WWE title or something else, but not so good. But anyway, after Neville was done boasting about winning, apparently Enzo Amore came out, and, you know, he talked his little talk and walked his little walk. Did I expect Enzo on 205 Live? Actually, yes. Because A, they are trying to punish him, and they know that that is their absolute lowest rated brand right now. I think the last I heard, it was 17th, 18th or something on WWE Network. And I think the other thing is that with Enzo's weight and size, there's no way he's going to be a believable opponent in any of these other divisions. So Enzo might bring the good type of attention to himself if he can make something of himself in the cruiserweight division. I think that he could very well bring some good attention to the cruiserweight division to begin with. And I think that it speaks a lot of you're being punished, but Enzo has always made a lot out of any opportunity he's been given. The issue now is that he's going to most likely be getting paid a lot less for being on 205 Live than he was a main roster superstar. So, I don't know. Whether Enzo walks at this point or whether Enzo stays is really going to be up to Enzo. I could see that if he didn't want to stay, I can see him walking in the next 6 months before WrestleMania. Because Big Cass, another thing, it is, as I believe I reported this on Tuesday, but yeah, it is a blown ACL. He tore it. And so, yeah, you're not going to see an Enzo Big Cass reunion anytime this year at all. It's probably going to be 9 months until he gets back into the WWE, and that's Big Cass. Enzo, I don't know. I mean, he's on 205 Live now. If he opens his mouth again or gets thrown off another bus, that's probably it for Enzo. So, granted, I don't want to spoil anything, but at this point, it does look like, you know, we're going to see a lot more of Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, and Adam Cowboy on NXT, just from various things I've read. I am very happy about this. It seems like a great thing. So NXT definitely is going to be revamping both their main card, their tag team, and their women's division in the coming months. So it almost looks like they're going to try to outdo what they did last January, which last January in San Antonio, that was good. It was definitely passable, but it was not the level I expect NXT to be on. Like NXT TakeOver San Antonio was nowhere near what NXT Chicago and Brooklyn 3 were. So, this should be a very, very interesting next couple of weeks for NXT. Well, I'm Gary Maloney. This is Sacktown Slam, and peace out.